That is a wrap on the 2025 NHL Draft. Obviously not going to go through every pick one by one from rounds 2 through 7 like I did for the first round, but there were some trades that happened today that I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on. There is some talk about a potential sign-in trade happening between Vegas and Toronto for Mitch Marner, but we don't know all of the details for that just yet, so if that ever ends up getting finalized, I'll probably end up making a video on that tomorrow. Let's go over the trades that have already went down today, though. First up, the Red Wings have acquired a goaltender, John Gibson, from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for goaltender Peter Mrazek, a 2026 fourth-round pick, and a 2027 second-round pick. So John Gibson has finally been traded after what feels like years of having his name involved in trade rumors. I'll be honest, when I first saw news of this trade break without seeing what the Red Wings gave up to bring John Gibson in, I was pretty nervous, because based off of everything that we've heard, the Anaheim Ducks had a pretty high asking price set for John Gibson over the last few years, so I was pretty relieved when I saw that all the Red Wings had to give up was Peter Mrazek, a second and a fourth. As a Red Wings fan, really can't be mad at that at all. I think it's pretty clear one of Yzerman's top priorities this offseason was to try and solidify the goaltending situation a little bit and really upgrade the team at that position, because it's been a bit of a revolving door over the last couple of seasons, and I think it's safe to say John Gibson is definitely an upgrade over Peter Mrazek, and he's still signed for 2 more seasons, whereas Peter Mrazek and Cam Talbot are both UFAs at the end of next season. So at the very least, the Red Wings now have some stability at the goaltending position for the next few seasons in John Gibson, who is coming off of statistically one of the best seasons he's had in a long time, although it was a shortened season for him due to injury. In the games he played in, he was pretty solid. He finished the season with 912 save percentage. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm expecting John Gibson to turn back the clock in Detroit and play like prime Gibson again and start upwards of 60 games in a season and be in the conversation for the Vezina Trophy. I think those would be very unrealistic expectations to have. I'm just hoping Gibson can come in and be a solid 1A option for the Red Wings and start maybe 45 games, because again, they still do have Cam Talbot signed through next season, who should be a solid 1B behind John Gibson. Now, Gibson is 31 years old, so he's obviously not going to be the goaltender of the future for the Red Wings, but I think he's a pretty solid option to kind of serve as a bridge between now and when somebody like Sebastian Cossa or Trey Augustine are ready to play in the NHL full-time. So overall, a pretty solid move here for the Red Wings in my opinion, and for Anaheim, I think this is a good move for them as well. I mean, I think the biggest thing about this trade for them is just the fact that they finally got this over with. A John Gibson trade was inevitable. It was just a matter of when. Given his contract, his age, and the fact that he's coming off of a season where he missed a lot of time due to injury, the Ducks were never going to get some crazy return for Gibson. So all things considered, I think they did pretty well here, getting a second and a fourth round pick, as well as some added cap flexibility. By making this trade, they clear up over $2 million in cap space, and you get a guy in Peter Mrazek who should be a viable backup option for Lucas Dostal next season. Moving on now to the next trade, the Ottawa Senators acquired defenseman Jordan Spence from the Los Angeles Kings in exchange for a third-round pick in today's draft, as well as a 2026 sixth-round pick. I'm a big fan of this trade for the Sens. A bit surprised this is all the Kings were able to get in return for Jordan Spence. He's a 24-year-old right-shot defenseman who's still signed through next season at a very cheap cap hit of just $1.5 million. He's a bit undersized, but over the last few seasons, he has put up really strong two-way results for the LA Kings, albeit in sheltered minutes, but he's definitely a player worth taking a chance on, especially at this price, only having to give up a third and a sixth-round pick. I think worst-case scenario here for Ottawa is Jordan Spence continues to play limited minutes similar to how he was deployed in LA and thrives in those minutes, or best case scenario, maybe the Senators decide to give him a look in the top 4 and he really breaks out. I think he has that kind of potential, so really solid move here for the Sens. For the Kings, I get you already had Drew Doughty and Brant Clark on the right side, but if this is all they were going to get in return, I feel like the Kings honestly would have been better off just holding on to Jordan Spence, because like I said, he's been pretty solid for them in a third pairing role over the last couple of seasons, and he's still relatively young and is on a cheap deal. Maybe the Kings wanted to do Jordan Spence a solid and send him somewhere where he'd get an opportunity to play in a bigger role. Who knows? But on the surface, I definitely think this is a really great trade for the Sens. And now finally, finishing up the video with the last trade that happened during day 2 of the NHL draft. The last trade involving an actual NHL player, I should say, not minor league players or teams just swapping picks moving up and down in the draft. The Pittsburgh Penguins have acquired Connor Clifton along with a second-round draft pick in today's draft from the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for Connor Timmins and Isaac Beliveau. So the Penguins weaponized their cap space a little bit here, and by taking on the remaining year of Connor Clifton's contract at a cap hit of a little over $3.3 million, they get a second-round draft pick for their troubles. The pick was 39th overall, and they ended up selecting Peyton Kettles. So solid move here for the Penguins to continue to build for the future. Maybe Connor Clifton ends up being a guy they can flip closer to the trade deadline for a late round draft pick or something like that. And for Buffalo, it makes sense why they'd want to move on from Clifton, especially after acquiring Kesselring as part of the JJ Peterka trade. Clifton was never really a great fit for the Sabres, so they free up some cap space by making this move, spending a second round draft pick to do so, and they get back a guy in Connor Timmins who is currently a restricted free agent. It'll be interesting to see what Buffalo decides to do with him. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they just don't qualify him and let him go to unrestricted free agency, or maybe they re-sign him on a cheap one-year deal for a little bit of added depth on the right side. So those are my thoughts on all the notable trades that happened during day 2 of the NHL draft. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it sounds like Mitch Marner could be going to Vegas as part of a sign-and trade, so if that happens at some point tonight, you can expect a video giving my thoughts on that tomorrow. And as always, I want to know what you guys are thinking, especially if your favorite team was involved in any of the trades that we talked about in this video. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Sound off, let me know how you're feeling, and if you made it all this way to the end of the video and you ended up enjoying yourself, please remember to leave a like. It's the best way to let me know that you enjoyed, and it does help out the videos a ton. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this all year round, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all again soon.